TikTok. It's time to rock. We're sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that we are 20 minutes late. Brad reminded me about 30 seconds ago that we're making a habit of this, so it's our sincere and deepest apologies. We do try to be on time, but nevertheless, things happen and we just chit-chat, and once we start talking and jeepers, you know, a lot of things happen behind the scenes on these high-tech, really involved, deep dive shows. There's a lot of things going on. So better late than never. I am here with my friend, the co-host, the best guy in Australia. Well, one of them. One of them. Yeah, there's a few. Not too many. Australians and New Zealanders, guys, you know, it's a thing. We can say that. We've got a thing going on because I know that Brad thinks that I'm the only decent guy in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, one of maybe a few. That's it. You
know? Oh, my gosh. Good to see you, bro. We're waiting for Simon to jump in the stream, and when he jumps in, we'll start the show proper. But as usual, we've got some really important links on the bottom there. If you guys are new to the channel, if you're watching this replay, all our regular viewers know exactly what we're talking about, but there's some key Instagram accounts happening on the bottom there. And I'll flick them during the course of the show. If you can subscribe to those Instagram accounts and help build our channel, that would be great. And what else? Oh, special shout out. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to give the special shout out this time to Brad. Who's the special shout out to for, bro?
Warren. Special shout out, Warren. We hope you're well, and we're looking forward to hopefully you can jump in the chat at some point and let us know you're doing well. But yeah, we talk about you. We send our warm thoughts and prayers your way, mate. So you know, fellow Australian. So, yes, our thoughts are with you, and we really sincerely hope that you're okay. Really
awesome,
do.
Bro. Awesome. Good to see that we're wearing our Beatles T-shirts today. You know, it's always an event if we get some matching T-shirts because, you know, after all, we should call this show, you know, we get a bit of grief by some guys, you know, because of our long name. Now, our long name reflects the depth of analysis that our shows provide. No, it doesn't. It just means that we just like long names. But sincerely, we should just call this show the T-shirt show.
The T-shirt show. That's it. We all try and match T-shirts of the brand or the band that we're actually promoting. So there you go. They should pay us, Andrew. They should be sending us like merch. The Beatles, all of them. Eric Clapton, mate. When you're watching this back, send us some T-shirts, buddy. All
right? Mate, tank tops, anything.
We'll wear them. We'll wear them on the channel.
Yeah. Look, seriously, guys, we do appreciate you joining us here on the Sunday show, the British Electric Blues show, the home of the 5150 show. We are streaming on obviously YouTube, but we're also streaming on our Facebook group, which has got over 10,000 members now. All about the blues, home of the Electric Blues show. So we're streaming on there too on Facebook. So if you guys want to follow us there, I might set up Nightbot with that link during the course of this show. But yeah, follow us there if you want to hang out. And then obviously you can find Brad there too on his Facebook. But Instagram is the place that you want to be in touch with Brad. We got George. Holy cow, we've got George.
George?
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, because I didn't put my name.
Wrong George, but you'll do.
I should have put George too, shouldn't I? Or the other George.
Well, you know what they say, ladies and gentlemen. Better late than never.
Better never than late. Morning all. How are we doing?
Good to see you. We did see you before, but You were having some technical stuff going on there, so welcome back.
Yeah,
Okay,
guys,
well, we might as well
tip
get
for
him
you?
to. We might as well get Simon to, George to at least earn his wage.
Go
Do a
on.
quick shout out before he gets canned, before his link goes. So at least earn his $100.
Is that what you're getting?
Did someone say $100?
Is that what you're getting? I'm not getting that. That's not fair.
Well, you're getting 200, are you?
I get a pat on the back, mate. That's my payment.
Yeah. No, I pay for the privilege. And if I get 100, that'll be the day when I get $100 of this. Not holding out. I am not holding out much hope of this $100 turning up.
You just don't know what might happen in the future with this channel. You have no idea what Mark and Arvin and jeepers, you want me to do your job? Oh no, okay, all right.
Yes. Good morning, Nelson. As ever. Good morning, Nelson. Hope you're good. Mark Tanner, Arvin Gord. Yes. We've got Teresa Maria de Souza. Morning, Teresa. How are you? Hope you're good. Ellen. Morning, Ellen Vorenstein. And Johnny Heartbreaker. Morning, Johnny. How you doing? Hope you're good. TikTok, we are rocking. Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's who we've got at the moment. So morning all. Hope we're all good. And we had a good week and stuff. But yeah, we're here again.
We're here and we're ready.
Possibly. I've got a brilliant story that I heard this week. Do you want to hear my All Things Must Pass story?
Let's hear it.
You know that that one of the things about All Things Must Pass is that supposedly Phil Collins played congas on one track. I'm sure you know this story. Well, so Phil Collins, when he was 16, but apparently clearly not a conga player, had a session for All Things Must Pass to play congas, and he could never hear himself on the track that he played on. So so when he got famous and he met George and became friendly with him, he said to George, I played on one of the tracks and All Things Must Pass. I played congas on it. George said, did you? He said, I've got the tapes. He said, I'll have a look, see if I can find it. So anyway, a week later, courier comes around with a tape, right? So from George to Phil. So Phil puts it on, and there's kind of noises in the studio, and then and then some incredibly bad conga playing, really not very good conga playing, right? And he listens. He thinks, God, it was awful. No wonder they didn't put it on. It wasn't very good, was I? And at the end, there's George's voice saying to Phil Spector, Phil, let's try it without the conga player. You've been fired, right? And so Phil's like, blimey, it must have been terrible. So anyway, George phoned him up later and says, did you get my tape? He went, yeah, it's terrible. He said, I know. He said, I set it all up. I got Ray Cooper to come in and muck about and play really bad congas and sent it to you as a joke. He actually set him up and got Ray Cooper to come around and play really bad congas to pretend it was him.
That's hilarious.
Bloody marvellous. George Harrison in a nutshell.
Gosh.
Brilliant.
My gosh. Good to see you guys. We just did a quick intro, Simon, while you were jumping in, sorting your things out, so that's good.
They are. My tech tip. When you turn your router off, unplug it for 10 seconds.
Oh.
Okay. Unplug it. Unplug the power wire for 10 seconds.
Oh.
Because if you keep it plugged in, it doesn't forget everything because it's still got power going to it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So people get paid millions for telling you just pull the plug out.
Yeah. You don't want if you're a supplier of internet, the things you don't want are me ringing up to complain because I'll be sending you files worth of tests and all sorts of other stuff.
Awesome. We're going to see where we are. We've got 14 tracks to rank. Plus, we do have the pleasure of a Brad Tech and Tone tip that I think you are all gonna want to hang around to witness, because it's going to be an exciting little experiment that you can actually witness. That was a crucial part of this recording, and it's linked with a couple of songs. So hang around. We'll do that at some stage.
Yep.
But we'll see where we are after a couple of hours, I think, because 14 tracks. I don't think we've done a 14-track album for a while, guys.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The astonishing bit is it's 20 minutes aside.
40-odd minute album.
Yeah.
And that's probably some of my biggest complaints with the songs, that they're not long enough.
Yeah. But we'll see what we'll gauge. We'll gauge where we are after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and see where we're up to. Because if we have to come back, I'm just putting that out there, guys. If we have to come back, and because we don't want to rush, we want to make sure that we're giving you guys all the information that we have, and we're all getting it out there, so to speak. So I'm going to be quiet, and Brad's going to introduce the tracks, talk about them. Then Simon's going to offer his analysis, the rock professor, and then I'm going to jump in and add a couple of sentences, and as usual, just follow that format. And as we always like, we really, really encourage you guys in the chat to participate and offer your rankings, and if we're right or wrong,
let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know. We want to hear what you guys have to say. But thanks, Andrew. I think one thing we need to just recap on before we even get into the songs is a really big part of this album is the technique that was used called automatic double tracking, or ADT, which we refer to quite a bit in some of the rankings of the songs. EMI technical engineer Kevin Townsend came up with this technique, and it's basically linking two tape recorders to automatically create like a double tracked vocal. So John Lennon in particular hated doubling his vocals, because doubling your vocals, basically, if you're not aware of what that is, it's just repeating the same vocal that you've done to get like a chorusing effect, or a flanging effect even, to an extent, because it cuts the waves, the vibrations come in and out. So you're almost singing exactly the same thing, and John Lennon didn't like doing that a lot at all. So as soon as that technique came into play, and you can clearly hear it in these songs when you're really listening, which is fantastic. So I hope you don't mind, Andrew. I just wanted to recap on that one a little bit, just so that when we get into the songs, people understand what we're talking about, if they haven't watched the first.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that basically. Yeah, sorry.
I'll throw that up if you want. That auto tracking machine. If you, we showed a picture of it last.
The normal way to get this effect, guys, is to sing the vocal piece twice onto a multi-track tape. And obviously, Lennon really wasn't a big fan of doing that. He was like a 1 or 2 take guy. He'd be a 1 or 2 take guy, and that was it. So, look at Simon's up. Simon's.
Why? How come I'm sideways?
Simon's sideways. Yeah, you've come in sideways somehow, mate.
How do I manage that? I don't think sorry, bloody hell.
He's gone.
Right, come on. There we are. That's better.
Yeah, you're back.
That's better. Yeah, sorry. Don't know what happened there.
That's funny. So yeah, just recapping that ADT, or it basically, it was a technique used by them quite a bit on this album, and you can clearly hear it. It's called automatic double tracking, and again, just a really unique technique, and I can hear it clear as day when I'm listening to these tracks, the songs that they've used it on. And I just wanted to touch on that before we get into the songs. But are we right to dive into the songs, guys?
Yep,
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's do it, because we've got a bit to get through, so I don't want to hold everyone up either. I want to get straight into the juicy stuff. So Taxman, a great opening track to the album. George Harrison, highlights his ability to write songs and about topical concerns as well, not just about the typical love and sort of love me do's and everything that the Beatles were known for. They started to, on this album, really evolve and write things about topical concerns or particular things or experiences, which is what makes this album very unique to me. From the very count in, it's so cool. That ding, ding, that sort of stabbing guitar line is just fantastic. Obviously, lyrically, it's his protest against like that high marginal tax rate. The top earners, like the Beatles, would pay 90%. I think it was something like 95% of unearned
98.
98, was it?
Yeah, 98%.
Oh, there you go. I've been corrected. 98 of unearned income tax. Income like interest or savings or investments or whatever they had, they'd pay 98% of tax.
On your income.
Yeah,
over a certain amount, you had to pay 98 pence in the pound tax.
So that in itself, that was like George's little protest against it. I love the guitar tones on this track, and like I said, you can clearly hear Harrison's vocals on this are treated with that compression and the ADT, the automatic double tracking technique. Paul's
it's a thing.
Very Motown bass playing. He's heavily influenced by Motown players, in particular a bass player called James Jemison, and he was obviously holding that sort of Motown-y feel to the bass, while Ringo's uniquely holding down his drum, as he always played perfect with the drum. He was a fairly big part of the songwriting the creation of a song. He didn't just play drums; he actually made the drums creative for me. He actually made some of the songs sound better because of his drumming. So I believe McCartney performed the solos, the guitar solos. I think he played his Epiphone Casino, and you can hear some really sort of Indian-style phrasing and scales, what he's playing there. The harmonies are wonderful in the song, and the outro solo, McCartney again, it's you don't really want it to fade out, but it's fading out. I love the track. I've heard people cover it, but no one really does it as good as the Beatles, in my opinion. I gave it a 20 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've heard people
Simon.
mainly the jam. Yes. On start. Is that a cover? No. Yeah. I like that thing about Paul McCartney. Apparently, Jeff Emerick said that because George had a great deal of trouble playing the solo, in fact, he couldn't even do a proper job of it when we slowed the tape down to half speed. For some reason, couldn't. Just one of those things he couldn't. Because George is a great player, but he just seemingly couldn't get this at all. So after a couple of hours of watching him struggle, McCartney just went out there and fired it off. And it's interesting, isn't it? Paul McCartney, underrated guitar player. Nobody ever talks about Paul McCartney's guitar playing, but that's a great solo. Yeah, and it's for me, yes. I mean, it mentions Edward Heath and Harold Wilson, the British Prime Ministers of the time, who were in charge of the tax regime of the various governments that they led.
Yep.
I mean, I think what comes to me is that probably why it's such a sort of the first track is that it's aggressive, isn't it? I mean, it's aggressive. I mean, it's that. It's quite aggressive, kind of. It doesn't have that kind of soft, very clean. It's got that kind of driven, slightly distorted overtone. It's sort of aggressive, and which suit the song fine because it's sort of protesty lyrics of their taxing. So it's a fantastic, great opener, I think, as well. I'm all for the how does this work as a side, as an opener and things. And so again, 20 out of 10, never a skip, an absolute bona fide classic.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I love it. That counting intro is fantastic, isn't it? It's just
the fake counting, yeah. That they construct,
yeah, I love it. There's two things about this song that blow me away. And Brad's mentioned it in his discussion about the Motown influence on Paul McCartney. But this is the first time, and we hear hints of it with Rubber Soul, an album that we're bound to do. But this is the first time where we actually hear Paul McCartney's voice through the bass guitar. And I did some comparisons during the course of the week, guys, comparing this bass track with listening to a couple of tracks on Abbey Road, like Come Together, for example. So you've got that swampy bass sound already in '66 with Paul McCartney, and I just love the way that this bass is playing behind the song. My notes say here, so Taxman shows the Beatles at their collaborative best. George's first album opener, with John contributing apparently to the lyrics, and obviously, as my co-hosts have said, Paul McCartney adding vocal harmonies and a guitar solo, which is overdriven to the max, isn't it? It's just a brilliant style. And everyone talks about Cream and some of these British blues bands that were creeping in around 66 and 67. Boy, the Beatles could do it too, for a couple of seconds there on this song. I'm going to agree with my co-hosts. This song is never a skip. It's a very dear song to me because it's touched by George Harrison. And anything George Harrison does is just unique and beautiful. It's a 20 out of 10 for me, and it's never a skip.
It's interesting. It's interesting, the fact that they use these vari speed for recording some of these tracks as well, which we'll get into a bit more. But it's interesting that, George Harrison's such an amazing player, but they ended up just going with McCartney. It just goes to show, for the guitar solo I'm talking about, and it just goes to show the diversity of the band. Before Paul was playing bass, he was playing guitar, and he was a fairly accomplished musician. He could play piano, could play drums, he could play bass, could play guitar. So anyway, I just thought I'd highlight that again. But Eleanor Rigby was the follow-up, which is the next song. It's a great second song. Sorry?
I'm just saying, hey, Texas. Sorry, bro.
Oh, you're right. It's a second song follow-up to Taxman. I think it's just a great choice for a second song. Highlights Paul's ability to create characters in a song, which he does a lot. And in the past, he did it before this album, and moving forward, like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Like, he always created a character, and he wrote a song about that. And I find that is something quite unique, and it's a very interesting technique to write lyrics about a character, which not a lot of people do, because it's more inward or outward, or it's about a relationship or a breakup or love for someone or whatever it may be. But he would actually write about a character. The song's obviously about lonely people, and you can really feel the loneliness, the vibe, the energy, the way they've recorded the song, the vocal delivery, everything about it. You can really feel that loneliness in the song. It's a step away from his usual love song sort of writing, when he used to write, love songs. His vocals on this are really strong. There's beautiful harmonies in there from Harrison, Lennon, and Ringo Starr. Wonderful string arrangement, and I think the string arrangement was done by George Martin. It's actually important to note here that none of the Beatles performed instrumentally on this song. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I've always loved this song, and I don't think it would ever be a skip in my eyes.
Well,
Simon,
it was a single, wasn't it? It was a single offer. album. And yeah, the thing that struck me most, it's an extraordinary contrast to Taxman, isn't it? You get Taxman, which is that kind of aggressive, choppy guitar, band, all in, and then you get a song which is a string quartet and Paul. No band, just Paul, which is a remarkable difference between the two tracks, contrast between the two tracks. A kind of soft, melancholy, as you said, Brad. About loneliness and about beautifully painted, beautifully observed track about loneliness. Straight after a song about I'm paying too much tax, which I think is symptomatic of where. That as we've talked about, I've talked about it before. That thing about nobody was afraid of variety, variation, extreme variations on records. You could do one thing and then do something completely different, and nobody thought that homogeneity of sound and things like that, which you get a lot these days on albums. People go for a sound, and that will be the sound of the album. Yeah. In this, in these late '60s, as you come into sort of the album era, people just we'll put it on whatever it sounds like and whatever it is, and we'll use the fact that it's a contrast to the previous song just better mean that it's a really good song, so you forget the previous song quickly so that you get into this one. But it's always struck me as being very kind of that contrast between the two songs always marked it out for me. It is a brilliant song, fantastic, McCartney song, single hit, massive hit single. Yeah. It's just something that did interest me. The name Eleanor Rigby, apparently, one of the stories is that he got the name Eleanor from the actress Eleanor Bron. It was nothing to do with me, but the name Rigby came to him when he was in Bristol, which is where I live, and spotted a store called Rigby and Evans, limited wine and spirit shoppers. And he liked the name Eleanor Rigby because it sounded natural. I don't know if it's entirely true, but it had a Bristol connection, so I'm going for it. But it is a 20 out of 10, and it's never a skip. It's one of the Beatles classics, and is a beautiful, observed song the sophistication of the string quartet, I think, is almost unheard of in terms of I can't think of anything previously that would have that sophisticated string arrangements. I mean, George Martin would have done the string arrangement. It's absolutely amazing. The counterpoint melodies they play, alternating back between the viola and the cello and the violins, just astonishing, really. Clearly, you can see that that kind of pushing ahead, pushing the parameters of where they were and what they did. I mean, I think they had a freedom, didn't they, from stopping touring and then starting to record. You had more time, more time for ideas, what to do, stuff. So yeah, it's a 100 out of 10 and never a skip.
Awesome. Eleanor Rigby is one of the most remarkable of all the Beatles songs ever produced, in my opinion. It's succinct, revolutionary, dramatic, and sympathetic. And the first time I heard this song, it instilled in me remarkably quickly a feeling, a mood of loneliness and sadness. And 40 years later, I still get that when I hear this song. It's an eerie song for me. And as Brad said, you've got Paul on vocals, the session musicians, 4 violins, 2 violas, and 2 cellos playing a beautiful, stringed arrangement. It's fantastic, and I agree with what Simon said. It's revolutionary, and it paves the way for obviously the album that follows. So everything that was done on the greatest album ever that people say that the Beatles did with Sgt. Pepper's is certainly done on this album. and we'll talk about that more as some of the songs go through. I'm sure. I've got a couple of interesting facts that I've dug out, guys, that I want to share with you guys. So apparently John Lennon claims to have written 70% of the lyrics, while other accounts have Paul soliciting other people in the room for help with the lyrics. Apparently Ringo contributed darning his socks and George added all the lonely people. So there's a lot of what's the word, rumor around, who contributed the lyrics to a song. And at the end of the day, guys, I just want to ask this question of my co-host and you guys in the chat. Does it really matter? Does it, No. But look, at the end of the day, it gives us an opportunity to talk about these things and highlight these things, because that's why we do the show. We love that stuff, don't we? Who did actually do the bass playing, who actually played the guitar on Taxman, because I remember being blown away when I found out 3 or 4 years later that Paul McCartney played the solo on Taxman. So we're all getting surprised, aren't we, by some of these facts and tidbits. I have to agree with Simon. I'm going to give this again a 20 out of 10. And the contrast between the first song, the opening track, and the second track on this album is remarkable. And we've had some interesting 1 and 2 tracks, haven't we, guys, with albums that we've done. A lot of albums tend to follow the first, second, and third songs, follow the same kind of, mood, motif or whatever, or genre. But the Beatles, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
No.
20 out of 10.
Excellent. I mean, you've just highlighted something that I think we spoke about in the first part of this. Was there's such a diversity of songwriting styles and everything on this one particular album as well. So you can clearly hear by the third song, even that's a contrast to the first 2 songs. So there's a fair bit of contrast. But I will say this, and I don't know whether it's because I'm used to listening to the album over the years and I could only ever hear it this way that it is, but every song kind of, it sort of balances itself out from start to finish as an album. So I always find that's, it's really important that the way they've structured the songs in the album, they work so well together. Do you guys feel that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we're up to the third song now, I'm Only Sleeping, and it's completely different to the first 2 again. And it's it's such a wonderful song. I'll go into it. It's well written. It's classic John Lennon stylings for me. It's got a lot of swagger and somewhat careless sort of fashion to the song, but it's perfect. John Lennon was really good at doing that. He was really just give it that sort of little bit of a swagger, and I think everything that John touched, he had that sort of, that's it, that's all right, leave it, not try and overanalyze it, not over perfect it. Maybe I'm wrong there, but that's the vibe that I get from his songwriting. But it's perfect, and that's what was so good about it. I believe this song was recorded with the very speed and was recorded at a faster tempo before being slowed down. And I think Lennon's vocals have got the automatic double tracking on it, so you can hear his voice. He didn't double that vocal, but when you listen in headphones, you can clearly hear that ADT on his voice. It widens the vocal take. The acoustic guitar sounds great in this song. You can really hear that the track has been slowed down somewhat by the strumming pattern in the guitars. Just the way that it's strumming, it's not a natural way to strum. Like if I was to pick up an acoustic guitar and start strumming, you've got to kind of give it a lazy approach to make it sound anything like that. And we touched on this in the first episode of this album, where the album was recorded with no idea of ever performing this stuff live. So they just went in, they were being creative as they could, and that's basically, what they did on this song is a really big one. It's got a really lazy feel to that strumming, like I said. The vocal delivery has that lazy feel as well, but I believe that his vocal wasn't slowed down. I think they recorded it at that speed, his vocal. And the guitar solos. Harrison recorded 2 separate lines, one's with a clean sound, and the second one he played a Gibson SG with his fuzz, and that they sound fantastic, and they're reversed. So, which we're going to sort of look at moving forward. But for me, this song, and I'm Only Sleeping, I can't give it anything but I absolutely love the song. I'm going to give it a 20 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me.
Simon.
It's astonishing, isn't it? That the I just, while you were talking about it, I was just looking at the first 3 tracks on this album, 2 minutes 36, 2 minutes 11, 2 minutes 58. You know, they're not even 3 minutes. They're still adhering to their the old thing of, a single 3 minutes, sticking to that 3 minutes per song. Get your ideas down, get them getting them in 3 minutes. It's just amazing, isn't it? That kind of creativity. I agree with you about that. Clearly, for the first time, they're not thinking about how they can perform them live. They think about them as the studio as then an instrument, and they can do what they want and stuff. So, yeah, I'm Only Sleeping is just, again, a sort of half kind of I don't describe it as a half acid dream. Pete Doggett described it as that, the author, and I think that Lennon was well known for being able to sleep a lot and anywhere. That his friend Maureen Clee said he could sleep anywhere, almost indefinitely. He's probably the laziest person in England. Physically. He said, I don't mind writing or reading or watching or speaking, but sex is the only physical thing I can be bothered with anymore. It's tough at the top, isn't it? This is lovely. But again, it has that kind of dream state. It's completely contrast with the previous track with Eleanor Rigby. I love that kind of, I love the George bit. I love the fact, the backward solo he did and spending hours doing that. It's Walter Everett, the musicologist, described it as a particularly expressive text painting, which I kind of get as a good description of it as a thing. I think, the things that struck me about it, it's got, Ringo can swing, can't he? As a drummer, he swings, and the most important thing for a drummer is to be able to swing. And he does it beautifully. Tempo is all, what he plays makes the song swing, and that's really good. And as you mentioned, Brad, Paul McCartney's bass playing, we'll mention it, but doesn't get a huge mention, and yet he is an astonishingly brilliant bass player. The right things at the right time, knows when to play a single note, knows when to play a run, a really melodic, beautiful kind of, run. I'm always amazed by his bass playing, and this album, I think he's amazing. And pushing forward, this is a 10 out of 10, and never a skip. How very dare you for even suggesting it? It's a beautiful song. This let's face it, this album, in the words of Mr. Walton, is a masterpiece. There is no doubt.
Awesome.
I'm using the M word.
I just want to back up with what Brad said about the Beatles recording this album and not being able to play it live. So Revolver was the first Beatles album from which no song was ever played live except for Paperback Writer, which is a single attributed to the album that they played on tour later on in the year. So, and then a lot of reasons why. Obviously that, you couldn't play Eleanor Rigby live, not in 66 and 67. Obviously today, no problem. You can go out there and do that. But that technology, that was available to performing bands in the 60s and the mid 60s. And we've got to remind ourselves that. And that's one of the great things, again, that we do here on this show, is that we try to incorporate, that limited technology or just genius that they had of the performers and the engineers to come up with some of these tracks that Brad mentioned earlier about, the tracking, the double tracking, just remarkable. Anyway, getting back to the song, look, I love the song. It starts off with that acoustic guitar, doesn't it? C blues. It goes from an F to C chord. It's just lovely. I've got one quote here that I just want to read. Apparently, George said, "We tried to get the vocals to sound like someone's asleep, which is very difficult." I think they did a pretty good job,
Yeah.
I don't want to reiterate what Simon said about John, being England's laziest man. What a great title. What a great title, a title he bestowed upon himself, and only a Beatle can do that. Look, the song is just, I can't explain it other than just give it a 20 out of 10 again, it's remarkable, and I just love it. And I think that 60s pot LSD scene that was going on, it's coming through on this song, isn't it? And it's going to follow through on a lot more songs and a couple of other albums. So this is the beginning. But having said that, though, I can't wait for us to do Paperback Writer, because Paperback Writer is the pot album, the famous pot album. So, recreational substances are always going to be an interesting ingredient to our contribution to these shows as far as talking about them.
Yeah.
Well, it's where they were. It's where society was, and it's where they were, isn't it?
Sonia, sorry to interrupt.
Sonia, good morning, Sonia.
Sorry, she snuck in.
That's fine.
I have to say, they to touch and mirror on both you said, and I've got it in my notes here, and I skipped it, but they did capture that that sort of that zone where you're in between asleep and in between fully awake. They captured that vibe and energy for some weird way. They managed to capture that. So
big time.
Yeah, you can the words in it. When I'm in the middle of a dream, stay in bed, go upstream. You can. The way they captured it is remarkable. So
beautiful, love it.
Wonderful song, and some of my biggest influences are like the Beatles, and with recording my own music, I put reversed guitars in and things like that, and it's all because of like the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix. That's hands down massive influence on myself. And these days we've got the ability to do it quite simply compared to how they did it. Quite simply, So
remember, this is all done on 4 tracks.
Oh yeah.
It's not done on 24 tracks or 48 tracks. It's all done on 4 tracks, and
yeah. So I don't know whether you wanted to keep going, Andrew, or you want me to sort of do a tech and phone tip.
Why not? Why not? Hold on.
Why not?
Hold on. Let's unleash the genie from the bottle.
Now it's time for Brad's Tech and Tone Tips.
We have not seen that for a while.
No.
Never fails, does it? Gee.
I'm going to give everyone a bit of a sneak peek into my my world and what I put down in audio format, how I see color. If I was a painter, this is the colors that I would see in the music is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to play one of my guitar solos as back, it's reversed. So I constructed it. The reason I say this is because George Harrison deliberately composed the parts. So he knew where he wanted to start and end when it was reversed. And that's basically what I did when I recorded this solo. So I'm going to play a little section for you, and I'll quickly just do something, and I'll show you what I mean as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be quite technical here and turn this around. So can you guys see that?
Yep.
My screen?
Yep.
Right. So I'm going to highlight. I've soloed out the solo section just so you can hear it reversed. Hang on, my computer's spinning wheel. Let's go.
Look out, we've got a pro in the house. Look at that.
All right, so that's one of my guitar solos. And if I put that in context, I'll just quickly do this. Hang on. So in context. So you guys can hear that?
Yeah.
Audio.
Amazing. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That's been reversed. So if I actually just unreverse that, which is what I'm trying to explain. So if I go back to here and I render that backwards. So this is how I recorded the solo. And I knew exactly where I wanted the solo to start and end. So I wanted it to start at this point, and I'll solo it out so you can hear. So hang on. Okay, here we go.
Wow.
So I constructed that. So what I'm saying is that solo probably doesn't sound good like that, but I knew that's how I wanted that note where it ends here, where I'm pointing to.
Yep.
That's where it's got to start. So if I render that backwards, hang on, if I click on that and render that so it goes backwards, now that note that was back here is now here.
Yeah.
And that's why that's where I wanted to. So you've got to think backwards while you're playing, is what I'm saying.
So it has to be worked out, does it? You have to work out.
Anyway, so you get a general idea of what I'm trying to explain there. Now, these guys did this by actually cutting tape and splicing it and reversing it. So George Harrison would have known where he wanted his solo to start and end by trial and error, because this is trial and error what I've done. And basically he's gone, I want it to end I want it to start on a low note. So when he's tracking it, he has to record it so the end part of the solo is a low note, not a high note. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Perfect.
Completely, yeah.
So I'll quickly just do something really silly and not in the context of a song or anything like that. I'll just quickly put down, I've got my guitar. So what I'll do is I'll quickly track something and then I'll show you in reverse what it sounds like when I do something. Hang on. If it's going to work, let's have a look. Can you guys hear that?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Okay. I won't take too long, guys. This will be done in a second. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just do something similar, right? I'll start on a low note, and I'll end on a no. I'll start on a high note and I'll record it to end on a low note. Okay, so here we go. And I'm pressing record. Hang on, I'll just mute the other one. Okay. My bad, guys. This is live, guys. This is on the fly. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just reverse that, and you can hear what I've done. I'll reverse that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, how to do it. Well done. Yeah,
There's
really
a little,
cool, Brad.
there's
Thanks
a
for
little
that.
recording tech tone thing for you guys. And yeah, I was playing my lovely Sunburst Les Paul for this one.
Well done, bro. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
So
involving me in that, guys.
The period incorrect Les Paul.
yeah. So
Well,
when
it's a
Brad
nice-
gets
It's a 1960s reissue. Does that count?
Yes.
no problem. So when Brad gets some time, he can do an edit of that, and we'll put that on social media as a special little segment from the show.
And we have a hit.
Yeah. Why not?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
That's fantastic. Simon, do you want to do a quick shout out? We've got a couple of cats in the chat
got a
that have
couple
joined
of,
us.
Sorry. Yes, we said good morning to Analog Kid, and thanks for joining. And a new name, Tim Thomas, I don't recognise. So welcome, Tim. Thanks for joining. Who else? Got Sonia as well. Morning, Sonia. Hope you're good. So yeah, thanks guys for joining. And yeah, tremendous. That was really good, Brad. Thank you for that.
Thank you, bro.
Doing it live as well.
It's
It's a bit
wasn't
nail
a
biting.
bonus,
No, but you're right. That thing about having to work out what to play and then cut the tape out, turn it over, and tape it back in and see what it sounded like. It's
Yep.
slightly different to I'll just reverse this on the screen.
That's right.
But yeah, really good. Yeah, thanks for that. It's really cool.
But with these guys, what I'm getting at were the innovators. They created this stuff. And John Lennon was adamant about the fact that no one had ever done reverse stuff before they did.
Correct. And there's a song on here later on. We'll probably go into that in some kind of depth.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Love you too. Love you too, not love you do.
Love you too, not love me do. Very big difference and contrast in songs here.
Again.
Yeah. So look, love you too. This song clearly highlights Harrison's interest in Indian and exotic scales and music. So as you know, as we've sort of explained before, there was a lot of experimentation with LSD and other substances at the time. So we'd heard Harrison play sitar before on Norwegian Wood on an earlier album, but this one he's really embraced the stylings and the flavor of India. He recorded it with Indian musicians, from what I understand, and I think where is it? Harrison played the tabla, he played the tambura and the sitar on this as well. So the vocals are filtered and there's some trickery going on. It definitely has that ADT treatment on the vocals. There's some input there from McCartney as well and Starr. I don't know whether John actually had much to do with this song at all, from my understanding. Look, it's exotic. It's got all the flavors that you can almost hear. Like Harrison would have been definitely influenced from the substance he was taking at the time. And it comes through in the music. You can really hear it. And some of the lyrics actually they actually sort of lean that way as well. I gave the song a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic song, and it just gives us some sort of idea and input to where Harrison was heading at this particular time as well. So I'll hand it over to Simon, but I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, this another extraordinary track, really, and extraordinary in terms of the fact that it, as you said, Brad, it is probably their first, the first overt, really use of Indian musicians and Indian music in popular culture. I think somebody, George had used sitar a bit on Norwegian wood and things as a kind of, as a coloration instrument, but this is full on foray into Hindustani classical music, as a composer, and I think all the more astonishing for that he can pull it off, really. And yet it has the kind of, still retains that Beatles melodic sensibility that they bring. I was looking up when you were talking, because I didn't know what a tanpura was. I don't know if anyone knows what a tanpura is, but it's basically like, it looks a bit like a sitar, but it's only got 4 strings, bit of a drone instrument. So it's got a long neck and that sort of round body, bit like a sitar. But so clearly George played both of those things on the track, and for me, it's so difficult to know, isn't it, that what at the time when you first bought the record, and then you put it on, you arrive at this track, and it's just, your mind must have been completely blown by this stage on what they were doing and where they were musically, and what was going on. I mean I think it's again that thing about being able to assimilate those things, but assimilate them properly, and it, not just a coloration instrument, not just I can play. There's a lot. I'm sure, Brad, if you gave you any stringed instrument, you get a tune out of it. And there's a difference between getting a tune out of it, and that's fine. I'm not saying that's not good. I think that's amazing, but to go this far into it and be this good at it, I think that clearly Harrison's been practicing, and got a real understanding about how this works, and with the tablas and stuff, and not being afraid, not really to have much in the way of the other Beatles on it. It is a very Indian influence, very Indian sounding, and yet has that Beatles sensibility about it. That and a bit of fuzz tone affected electric guitar. There we are, beautiful. That's it. Not quite a sitar, which has more strings, I think. But also, what's the thing that struck me, besides that, the electric fuzz guitar, was some of the lyrics still have some of George's well-known worldly cynicism about them in them as well as the LSD thing, which struck me to be quite amusing, really. Sort of. Oh, look out, Johnny being raid. Or just Johnny Bean.
Either way, we're happy. If it's just Daddy Bean,
yeah. Daddy Bean, yes. Morning, Johnny. Hope you're good. We can thank you for the shout out to our show on Friday's show with Jay. It's very nice of you. Thank you so much for that. And we're pleased that our catchphrase is catching on in such a great way. Dear. He has a proper laugh, Analog Kid. Absolutely. So, sorry, just to get back. So, I think that, clearly there's a, influenced by the LSD experience, as you said, Brad. I absolutely agree with that. I think, this is where this is going. And for me, again, it's a 10 out of 10. I would conceive of skipping it as I think it's a fantastic achievement to be able to make a song like this so authentically Indian and yet have a Beatles touch to it, and it fits right in. And again, it's a massive contrast to the last song, and is how far from Taxman to here, probably track 5 or track 4, it blows me away that you can go that musical distance in 10 minutes. Astonishing. So yeah, 10 out of 10, never a skip from me. Absolutely not. Mr.
Awesome. I've dug out a couple of interesting facts that I want to share with you guys that I didn't know until I did some research for the show. So according to George Harrison's mum, George was always interested in listening to Indian music. He was always fiddling around with the radio. So I wasn't aware of that. I thought George's interest in Indian music came from his yogi experience after visiting the doctor and having a cup of tea. And but no, apparently, according to his mum and a couple of references, he had an interest in some of that interesting music that the BBC was playing on the wireless a few times a week. So another little thing too, another theory that I've come across is that George's interest in Indian music helped overcome his feelings of secondary status within the Beatles, because John and Paul were clearly, obviously, the major songwriters in the band. So this was something that George could bring to the band other than maybe just some lyrics and some music. So, and again, obviously they appreciated that and thought it was cool, because it's got a lot of emphasis, hasn't it, on this album, that Indian mysticism, that Indian music, and on other albums too. Look, guys, it's not my favoritist George Harrison song. Did we mention that he's got 3 numbers on this album? He's got 3.
We did in the first episode on this one. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Look, but again, in the context of this album, which we've all identified as a masterpiece, I'm going to give this an 8. And it's never a skip though. But I'm giving it an 8. It's a fine song, and it tells us who George Harrison is in 1966, or who George wanted to be musically and spiritually. So. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. I think apparently I just read it that he was learning the sitar from Ravi Shankar, no less. Yeah. No wonder he got good. But yeah, I mean, the thing I picked out is that the words are at odds with the aesthetic of Indian music, and not morning, Brian.
Voodoo,
not the Indian mystic stuff, that Indian religious stuff that he took on later. I've got Voodoo's off. Deja Voodoo. Morning, Deja Voodoo. Hey.
Hey, everyone in the chat. Anyway, So where are we up to? Here, there, and everywhere.
Everywhere, yep.
Yes.
So Paul's taking us back to their earlier sound a little bit, somewhat, in this song. It's reminiscent of the Help era of the band to me. For some reason, when I hear this song, I hear a lot of the songs sound from the Help record. So I don't know why, I just do. It's a beautiful song. It's romantic. It's heavily influenced by the Beach Boys song God Only Knows. I know that McCartney was quite impressed with Brian Wilson's that song, his songwriting on that. The intro is sung like in a free-form time, and then it goes into like a 4/4 time signature. The vocals are beautiful all around. It's a classic example of the Beatles' ability to sing so wonderfully together. I think we mentioned this in another Beatles episode we did, that when they sung together, they just had something that was quite unique. Paul's double-tracked vocal was treated with very speed, resulting in a higher pitch of playback. There's some delicate guitar strumming to keep the time, and Ringo's obviously just lightly drumming through it and percussive more than actually playing drums. I gave this song a 10 out of 10. I love the song, and it's one of those songs that it's what is it, 2 minutes, or it's just under, what is it, 2 minutes? It
not
kind of just takes you on a little bit of a
2:29.
Yeah, it's 2:29. You start thinking while you're listening to it about, you know, the lyrical content. You're thinking about it, and then before you know it, it's over. So it's a momentary thought. The song fits perfectly in the album at this position as well. Like, you couldn't imagine this song later in the album or at the start of the album. It just fits perfectly here. So 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah,
cool. Simon.
Interesting what you say about. I had this kind of thing about it being partially influenced by the Beach Boys' "God Only Knows." McCartney said about it in 1990 that influence was only just the introduction that's influenced by "God Only Knows." John and I used to be interested in what the old-fashioned writers used to call a verse, which we nowadays would call the intro, this whole preamble to a song. And I wanted to have one of those in front of Here, There and Everywhere. John and I were quite into those from the old-fashioned songs that you were talking about that used to have them. And in putting that "Sings to Lead a Better Life" on the front of Here, There and Everywhere, we were doing harmonies, and the inspiration of that was the Beach Boys. We had that in our minds during the intro to Here, There and Everywhere. I don't think anyone, unless I told them, would even notice, but we often do that. Get something off an artist or artist you really liked and have them in your mind while you're recording things to give you the inspiration and the direction. Nearly always it ended up sounding more like us than them anyway, which I think is a fun, you know, is absolutely, that's the thing about, you know, the magpie instinct of the pop musician. You know, you take something from somebody else, you put it through yourself, and what comes out is not, you know, in the best, is not a pastiche of that, but actually takes on its own character and takes on the character of you as a person or as a band. And I think that's you know, that's really interesting. Really interesting observation. I think is true. You know, when you take those influences and turn them into you in that osmosis of playing them yourselves. I mean, I think you're right, but it does hark back to earlier Beatles stuff, doesn't it? That very more classic kind of verse chorus thing. I mean, what can you? I mean, the song itself is just, you know, has that amazing, you know, it's got amazing melodic sense. McCartney hasn't it? I mean, just way up there as just as a melodic thing, you know, as a song to sing or, you know, to hear. It's just, you know, it's beautifully done. I think that, you know, it's fantastic harmony singing. You know, you've got electric playing the melody and things, and that. But yeah, it's that overriding musicality of McCartney on this, you know, particularly this track. I think that you know, contrasting with the previous track. I mean, you know, for me, this is 10 out of 10. Never a skip. I can't conceive of this being a skip, and you know, as I said, every track has its own reward, is its own thing, and you know, the fact that it contrasts completely with the track before it is. But all the tracks are strong enough so that, you know, 10 seconds in, you've forgotten about the previous track. It's not hungover. You know, you're into the new track, and because it's so well done, so beautifully orchestrated, constructed, sung. You know, remember, I'll say this all the time, but you know, those harmonies are done in the studio live. You know, you have to go in and sing it, and then go and sing it again, and go and sing it again. You know, it's not, you know, as we've just seen on your screen, Brad, you know, cut and paste it, you know, turn it around. You've got to actually do it. And, you know, lest we forget that, you know, that these things seem simple now, but then no, you know, not nearly so simple because you had to do it manually, analog. Yeah. So it's a 10 out of 10, never a skip. It's a fantastic song. Andrew.
Yeah. According to Mel Evans, so there's, you know, a lot of people have got some comments and opinions on a lot of these Beatles songs. So Mel Evans has quoted saying, "The line I came up with was watching her eyes, hoping I'm always there. I'm very eye conscious. So, you know, you've got other guys other than the Beatles, you know, being involved in contributing to these songs. Look, I agree with what Brad said. You know, it's clearly a Paul McCartney song, isn't it? It's a crafted song with care. you know that he's put care into it, the way that he phrases the words, and what do they call it? There's some kind of special name they call it. Canned. It's called canned. The exploitation of the canned sound, in which wave of her hand, nobody can deny there's something there. You know, just a smart cookie, just a clever musician. I don't know what that means, but when I hear the song, when I listen to the song, it's Paul McCartney, isn't it? And I remember when we did part one, I think Brad or Simon, I can't remember, both of them, I'm sure, must have said that there's clearly songs on this album which are reflective of their songwriters, and this is clearly a Paul McCartney song.
Yeah.
Look, he's singing it, but when I say a Paul McCartney song, and my co-host will agree with me, just the way that it's written, you know, and you go and listen to 50 years of Paul McCartney music, and you can see clearly where this situates itself, the start of it all. Look, I love the song. It's a 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Yeah. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head. You know, again, they are clearly songwriters in their own right. There may have been influences or people, you know, this song clearly is a Paul McCartney song. It's undeniable. You know, you can hear John Lennon's songs, you can hear Paul McCartney's songs, and you can hear Harrison's songs, and then you can hear Yellow Submarine.
What a
nice
segue. That's
nice
pro
segue.
segue, that is.
Wolf, wolf.
So yeah, Yellow Submarine. It's a very clever Lennon McCartney song with a nautical theme. It was written for Ringo to sing. Apparently, it's written as a children's song, but definitely inspired by their substances that they were experimenting with at the time, without a doubt. It's well recorded by the band. Obviously includes a lot of overdubs and a lot of quirky stuff in there, including chains, bells, whistles, tubs of water, chinking glasses. And I believe they went through some old brass band recordings in the EMI library and chopped them up and threw them in the middle of the song there. And the band begins to play that bit.
Yeah.
So that's all chopped up bits of, out of the library in EMI there. I love the quirky bit where Lennon mimics Ringo's vocal part near towards the end there. Sky of blue, sea of green.
In the
In
background.
our yellow submarine.
Look, it's not one of my favorite songs. It fits perfectly into the album, though. The song, it's got a lot of effects in it. They did a lot of stuff. They were taking a lot of substances around the time. I'm going to quote in Ringo here that he did say, though, that although that they did take certain substances when they and when they were, hang on, let me just read it again. They did take certain substances. We never did it to a great extent at the sessions, though we worked really hard. So their work ethic was different. Maybe when they were in the studio, they didn't. But the song idea is definitely, this song, for example, there's something that's underlying here. It's not just a song written for kids. I'll leave it at that. So I gave the song a 7 out of 10. It fits perfectly on the album. It's never a skip, but it's just not one of my favorite songs off the album. That's all.
Yeah. I think that it kind of, McCartney said about it, and he wrote the majority of it. Yellow Submarine is simple but very different. It's a fun song. It's a children's song. And originally, we'd intended it to be sparky, a children's record. But now it's the idea of a Yellow Submarine where all the kids went to have fun. I was just going to sleep one night and thinking, if we had a children's song, it'd be nice to be on Yellow Submarine where all your friends are in the band. Paul purposely used short words in the lyrics because he wanted kids to pick up on it early and sing along. So in that sense, it does have a childlike quality. I know what you mean about clearly other stuff going on as well, but there's a lot of other interpretations of it that but I think it in a sense it also fits in with the Ringo songs are upbeat, kind of humorous, and I think all that stuff in the background clearly reminds has a influence from the Goon Show. I don't know if you guys know what the Goon Show is.
Yeah,
it's a late 50s, early 60s kind of sort of mad kind of show. Really, not satire. It's kind of precursor to Monty Python. Really, just that kind of very kind of left field humor of about nothing. They all had funny voices and all sorts of the Goons, Peter Sellers, and some of those, Harry Seacombe, and Spike Milligan, this great comedy genius, with all that silly voices and sound effects and all those things, which kind of come in here, and make the song what it is. As you say, all the clanking. Apparently, Alf Bicknell, the Beatles chauffeur, played Chains in a Bath. There we are. Which must be. And as he was their chauffeur, he wrote an autobiography called "Baby, You Can Drive My Car." And why wouldn't you if you were the chauffeur? So I agree, Brad. I don't know if this won't mean anything to you, but that kind of John Lennon in the background going, I don't know, see you green. We used to have a sort of English sort of punk folk musician in the UK called John Otway, right? And I saw him once live, and he did a version of House of the Rising Sun, which was the whole thing, was him doing that, going, where are we going? What are we? What's the only thing a gambler needs? A suitcase and a trunk. That's two things. So this kind of comedy, kind of commentary on his own thing. It reminded me very much of that as a humorous thing. I agree with you. I think it's this is an 8 out of 10 from me. It's not a skip, but it's a much slighter song than the others. But having had a whole variety of stuff, it fits right in as a variety thing. And you've got to have some light, haven't you? You've got to have a bit of a. It can't all be heavy, heavy, heavy. I think that light, means that the other things shine in a way that they should. So it's an 8 out of 10 and never a skip from me, Mr. Walton.
Cool. Yellow Submarine, interesting song. I think we discussed this last week. Brad and I sung this at primary school. And then I find out, a few years later that it's actually a Beatles song. It's not a This Old Man song or anything like that. So, look, guys, jeepers, it's not my favorite Beatles song at all. And it's a sometimes skip. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I've dug a few little bits and pieces to share with you out. You got Mel Evans, apparently, Neil Aspinall, Brian Jones, Marion Faithfull, and Patty Harrison, all offering some kind of vocals there in the background, and chauffeurs as well, rattling chains. So clearly they were, it must have been something that they enjoyed recording.
It's a bit of fun, and you talk about, say, of Magical Mystery Tour, Octopus's Garden. That's a wonderful song. It's got that nautical feel. The playing on it's fantastic.
Underwater.
It's kind of like got the same sort of vibe. And I think when they came to Ringo, they wanted him to be the one that was the, let's be honest, Ringo was Thomas the Tank Engine. So there you go.
It's no Octopus's Garden. I agree with you. It's not, and I'll just end what my contribution to this song with just a small quote from Ringo. It's not deep. It's not anything, It's just a children's song. So, Brad, what's the next song, bro?
She said. I've always loved this song. It's a great song. I love the guitar tone, the main riff. It's got a few odd time signatures within the song. It's got like your verses are like 4/4, then it goes to a 3/4, then it goes back to a 4/4 feel. Something very different for the Beatles. They'd never really done a lot of that sort of stuff prior to this song. Apparently, Paul walked out during this recording session for whatever reason, and Harrison decided to play bass on the song to finish it. So I don't think Paul's contribution to this song was very much at all. Harrison had been quoted that he helped John finish the song's composition. So that's something that I think he's even brought up in interviews in the 80s and everything. George Harrison brought that sort of stuff up. I love the drumming. Ringo's drumming in this song is fantastic. I love the harmonies John puts into the song. Like when he harmonizes himself, like John has a knack of giving this spooky effect. When I know what it's like to that wavering he puts there, because he's trying to harmonize. There's something quite spooky when he does that. When Paul harmonizes with him, when they sing together, it sounds great. But when John sings with himself, there's something quite unique there. Spooky is the word I'm looking for. Lyrically, I reckon definitely LSD experience. It's been quoted as saying they had an LSD experience with Peter Fonda. I was going to say Jane Fonda. Peter Fonda.
Not to be
and he said, apparently Peter said the line, "I know what it's like to be dead," when they were having a LSD experience. So that line John took and obviously put straight in the song. I give the song a 20 out of 10. I love it. I love the song. I would never skip this song in a million years. Simon.
No, absolutely. It's apparently Harrison was having a bit of a bad trip, and Fonda was trying to sort of talk him out of it, or talk him round. And he's saying, "I know what it's like to be dead. I shot myself when I was 10."
Yeah, he had a near-death experience. Yeah,
and nearly died. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was me when I was 10 or 8. I told this story when we were 8. Well, me and my friend Paul Green used to take it in turns to wear a leather jacket and shoot at each other with his air gun to see if it would hurt. See, I know where Mr. Fonda's coming from. Don't do that at home, kids. It's not brilliant. But again, an astonishing, another leap forward in what the Beatles were doing. I absolutely agree with you, Braz. LSD influenced overtly with the lyrics, with the song. It's a pretty straightforward, instrumental song. Electric guitar, singing, drums and bass, and there's harmonies. And I think it's an amazing song, really, to me. It's a 20 out of 10 and never a skip. Another masterpiece on this record. And we reached the end of side 1, and there's not been a song that is 3 minutes long. We've had 7 songs, none of them are 3 minutes long, and the amount of ideas and packed into those songs, creative ideas, is just amazing. And the amount of variety and the amount they managed to pull off in those songs, I think, is astonishing, really. And hats off to them for again, feeling that creative freedom clearly in the studio to be able to broaden their palette out a lot, and because they didn't have to perform these songs live, and put stuff in there. So 10 out of 10, never a skip. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Andrew.
I agree with you. Look, it's a masterpiece of a song, isn't it? You got John playing the Hammond organ. It's the lyrics, it's Cynthia Lennon is apparently on record saying, John needed to find his mental freedom. He was negotiating the uncertainty of marriage, what fatherhood meant, the direction of where the Beatles was going. And he needed to find some space amongst that. And there's a couple of songs on this album where he's telling us how he's doing that. One of the great things that the Beatles gave us, besides music and coolness and pop culture, they also gave this idea of expanding your consciousness, which was always the domain up until the Beatles of the elite in society. Working class, ordinary people didn't have the time, and it wasn't their right or privilege to talk about mind consciousness. The Beatles brought that to pop music and said, look, if you want to investigate your mind and get mental freedom, go for it. You know, you don't need permission to do it. There's some tools that you can do this with. And this album is certainly one of those vehicles that gave a generation of people that chance. I love the song. It's 20 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip. It's probably the second most important song on this album.
Yes, that's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, yes.
So that closes side one. And, you know, even though the songs don't really go for more than 2 or 3 minutes, we've been speaking about the album now for, what is it, an hour and 26 minutes with the tone tip in there. So you can see, you know, there's quite a bit in there, even though the songs are very short. You know, there's a lot there to take in. Brings us to side 2, which is the first track on side 2 is Good Day Sunshine. It's a very happy McCartney piano-driven song. Again, this clearly shows the diversity in the musical direction of the band at this point. McCartney was writing songs like Good Day Sunshine, and, you know, Lennon was writing songs like, you know, She Said, She Said. So there was quite a bit of diversity in the band at this point. You know, for whatever reason, they worked together, but obviously in the last song we pointed out that they didn't. But this song has a real up feel. When I listen to this song, I can just picture a really nice sunny day, enjoying the fresh air with a loved one. There's great harmonies, vocal delivery all round's great. It's a great side 2 opener. It's a feel-good song. The piano playing in it's fantastic. I gave it 8 out of 10. And it's never a skip, Simon.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it has kind of, for me, that because it's that piano has that kind of musical boogie woogie type feel that you know that clearly there is a link back to kind of the English musical in what, you know, the Beatles, you know, Sgt. Pepper has that kind of, you know, musical feel to it as well, and this harks back to that. I think this is a great track for an opener of side 2, as you say. It's a sort of, you know, and I'll say this a lot for this time. You know, it's a contrast to the, you know, some of the things that have gone before. You know, if you're going from She Said, She Said to Good Day Sunshine, there is that contrast. That's kind of uplifting, sunny song, apparently inspired by the Loving Spoonful hit Daydream, which is a kind of another carefree, upbeat tune. It's that kind of has that kind of vibe, as you said, sunny day, and so it, you know, I think it's, you know, it's a great opener for side 2. And remember, we're very much looking at these as 2 sides of an album, programming and those sorts of things. Very much a McCartney song, absolutely, with a piano led. So it's a 9 out of 10 and never a skip from me. Absolutely not. It's a great track, you know. It highlights McCartney's way with the melody, you know. It's just the melody and the singing, you know, but actually the melody, what you can compose. It's just amazing, really, to me. That, Andrew.
Wow, we're on par, because I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. It's clearly McCartney's weakest song on the album, weakest track. It's a delightful, easygoing song, don't get me wrong, and it sounds effortless, doesn't it? And it's almost like you know, it's just like a throwaway McCartney song, you know, that anybody would be just like happy to have, you know. So he's just given us this high benchmark that we're measuring everything by. And you know, my co-hosts and I think, we rated the song clearly in context with his other songs on the album. I'll be interested to hear what other people in the chat think about this song too, because we're on par, which is really, really good. No timeouts. But this is never a skip. It's never a skip. It's as Simon said, it's a great opener for side 2. But what comes after certainly makes up for any throwaways that the song could be considered.
And in a sense, that's the good thing about this song. You know, it is positioned, you know, but it contrasts with what comes after it, you know, in a really good way, you know, because, you know, I think that, you know, and that's why I think you know, it has a place and does a thing, you know, so I take my hat off to it.
Nelson.
So we're up to the next track, And Your Bird Can Sing. So for me, this is a very strong Lennon song. Great guitar opening sort of riff. The way that it's played is fantastic. Bass playing from Paul on this is fantastic. The harmonies are fantastic from Paul as well, where he double sings the parts with John. I feel that even though Paul's contribution to this song was minimal in the writing department, apparently it was like 80 to 20% or thereabouts, he obviously loved this song, and I think he gave everything he could into it. There's some fantastic McCartney overall in this song to me. Harrison and was it Harrison and I'm sorry, I just lost my notes. Damn it. Harrison and Lennon with guitar parts on this recording. It kind of makes me wish the song went longer than 2 minutes, because there's such amazing guitar work in there and it's all over and done with, and that guitar line that they play together is fantastic. They are actually playing it at the same time, which is remarkable. Fantastic. So I gave this song a 20 out of 10. It's 2 minutes of fantastic epicness, in my opinion. It's an upfeel song, and it's a really strong song. Simon.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah. It's apparently the song was directed at Frank Sinatra after Lennon had read a hagiographic article on the singer in Esquire magazine, in which Sinatra was lauded as the fully emancipated male man who can have anything he wants. So it's it's
Lennon
again. It's got that great.
So
go on.
But sorry to interrupt, Simon. But Lennon never said that though. So that's we've got to make that clear. That's theories. Lennon never came out and said, he's never told us what the song's about. So yeah. No,
that's fine. Yeah. No, good call. Yeah. So I think that I know that again, it's got a great guitar riff. Classic Beatles guitar riff. It's sort of, in a sense, kind of harking back to what they used to write before that. I love they've got the two guitars that play together. Apparently that was done live. They did that live, played the two guitars together, which is amazing. And has that, I love that kind of unresolved last chord at the end. It doesn't resolve itself. It left kind of hanging at the end, which is fantastic. Again, great melodic sense, in there, and it's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip from me. Absolutely not.
Andrew. Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I agree. It's the ultra burst of brightness, isn't it? This song, it just jumps out, it grabs you by the face, and I've always loved this song. The guitar work, the way the vocals are sung. I'm glad Simon mentioned one of the theories about the song, because John's never told us, and this is what we like to do here on the show. We like to talk about theories and what other music journalists have said. A couple of other people have said, it's a comparison between the Beatles and their arch copyists, the Rolling Stones. The bird, the bird that can sing might be Marianne Faithfull. So look, we don't know. no one knows. And John was always prompted to explain some of the songs. And we all know that when he did that famous Rolling Stone interview with Jan, he contradicted himself so many times, didn't he? And he basically lied a lot. He was just absolutely angry. And so we can't use that interview for anything really other than John Lennon was busy deconstructing his status as a musician and a Beatle. I'm not going to add anything other than it's a 20 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip, and I have to agree with what my co-host has said. And I've purposely kept quiet on this. The songs are only, as Simon and Brad have said, 2 minutes. But some of these songs sound really, really short. But when you listen to some songs, it sounds like it's going longer than 2 minutes. Like Eleanor Rigby doesn't sound, when I listen to Eleanor Rigby, doesn't sound like it's 2 minutes. But this song, you just want it to go on.
Yeah.
Just remarkable how music can do that. And we love talking about that, don't we? Love the song.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The Beatles, you never describe them as a jam band, would you?
No.
They didn't do that. They didn't do long extended solos in the middle or anything like that to extend. What they did was work out a part. Somebody would play something, 8 bars solo or whatever, and that would be it, wouldn't it? On to the next idea.
Simon, when they tried to be a bloody jam band, they argued and fought and wanted to kill each other. And we're going to see a film soon, that might not talk about that, but we all know the truth. So when they tried to do that, it just didn't work.
No. No, but it's really interesting is that one of the things the Beatles are not is they're not an improvisational band. Nobody in that band, certainly at this stage, there's been no improvisation. It is worked out. It is organised in the studio, and it is, and then recorded, and then it's 2.5 minutes, and they still got that pop in this record. They still got that pop sensibility, 2.5
the song
minutes,
was recorded and finished on one day, the 26th of April. So there's a couple of songs on this album that were stretched over 2 or 3 days. So one day.
One day.
See, but yes, which harks back to their 3 sessions to record, or 2 sessions or whatever it is to record their first album and all of that. You go in, you do a song. That's it. It's sorted. Good morning, the pride of Gothenburg. How you doing? Thanks for joining. So, sorry, yes, anyway. Brad.
Yeah, well, I think we're up to For No One.
We are.
That's what we're up to. Are we?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Because there's so many songs, I'm not used to doing 14 songs now. I'm used to doing like 8 or 9 songs like Black Sabbath albums and stuff.
Or 6 or 7,
I'm getting lost. For No One. Now, this song is predominantly Paul. Paul's writing and recording at the time was leaning away from the group dynamic. It was causing obviously a lot of issues within the band, which later were heightened as the years went on. Paul plays piano, bass, Ringo's on percussion. I think Paul plays clavichord. It's not one of my favorite songs on the album. It definitely fits where it is, though. Like it couldn't be anywhere else on the album. I believe the song's written and inspired about his relationship with an actress, Jane Asher, and you can hear. It's I guess what do you call it? Like a
wistfulness
song, like a relationship song, and I believe that the Ringo came in, played percussion, but the rest of the band weren't that into this song, from my understanding, and Paul just went ahead and did it all himself. I gave the song a 7 out of 10. It's like I said, it's not my favorite song on the album. But it fits where it does, and you wouldn't have it off the album either. So it kind of has its place on the record, but it's not my favorite McCartney song by a mile.
Yep.
Interesting.
Simon.
Yeah. Again, I think that 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 it highlights his blossoming, that interest in broadening his musical palette. He plays the bass, piano, clavichord, on this, and it's got the French horn on it, which is just such a beautifully played part. It's kind of it's just a thing, that a guy called Alan Sewell just came in and played that part, and it's just so beautifully observed, so beautiful. And for me, this is a great Paul McCartney song. Shows his fantastic melodic sense. It's got. I love the bass line in it, great bass line, and I like the fact that the vocals seem to be very close mic'd. It's kind of has an intimate feel there. It's not kind of declamatory back here. He seem to be right on the mic, and they seem to be quite loud. I think that it's for me, it's a beautiful song, and I don't mind a bit of the sort of slightly more sentimental kind of thing that Paul gives are a contrast to the more kind of acerbic Lennon stuff, and that contrast is good. As you say, there is much more, probably a split away, so that these are much more written by the songs on here and written by the individuals mainly, with ideas and stuff from the others rather than collaborations, which I think certainly is the case in their earlier songs. And I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. I think it's as I say, fantastically observed, beautiful melodic song, typical Paul McCartney song. Andrew.
I've got a bit of a quote here that I want to just share with you guys. For no one was yet another new departure. Success really did breed success, founded on the luxury of experimentation. Wilfred Millers considers Revolver an expression both of technology and artistic resource. And as far as Paul McCartney was concerned, he found himself as the keeper of the keys and was intent on exploiting that situation to the full. So in the context of Paul McCartney knowing who he is, where he is, he's a Beatle, what he's contributing to pop music, and how he doesn't really want to be shackled by anything, this song is great as far as that movement's concerned. But as a musical piece for me, as a listener, as an organic fan, it's not Paul McCartney's best song. It's a ditty, and I mean that respectfully. It's a bit of a ditty. It's a sometimes skip, guys. It's a sometimes skip, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I can see Simon's side of it, and I can see yours, and I think I'm probably right there in the middle of you two. Like, it's not my favourite McCartney song, but other than that, I do see both sides of the. So I gave it the same score as you, though, Andrew. So I think we're on par. But no, I can see your point there too, Simon. But we're up to Dr. Robert, so we'll jump off that one.
Can I just add one more thing that I just made a note of though? Apparently, the guy who did the horn thing was a guy called Alan Sewell, and apparently Paul didn't realise how brilliantly he was doing. George Martin said, "We got the definitive performance," and Paul said, "Well, okay, I think you can do it better than that, can't you, Alan?" Apparently, he nearly exploded. No, Paul, we don't need to do it again. It's just fine. Sorry, that's lovely. I just realised I made a note of that as a humorous aside. Carry on, Dr. Robert.
Dr. Robert. Well, this song, there's definitely a little bit more rocking. It's got a little bit of a harder edge to it. Great guitar tones. We're leaning on a guitar channel here. We go on about guitars a lot. This one here, just the guitar tones on this are fantastic. The bass playing on this song's great. The harmonies are fitting and they lift the song. It gives us a taste of the early days of the Beatles where they used to harmonise a lot together. I think the song is clearly about a doctor known for dispensing amphetamine injections into his patients, and they're praising the doctor for his services, basically. it's a great little tune. I can't give it anything but an 8 out of 10. It's a great song, fits exactly where it should be on the album. The flow of this record's fantastic. And Simon.
Yeah. It's about a man called Dr. Robert Freeman, a speed doctor in New York who supplied many celebrities, including the Beatles, with their drugs. Reportedly, he treated patients with injections of amphetamine spiked vitamin B12 from his Manhattan East Street clinic. It was noted that most Americans, due to diet and convenience culture, suffer from vitamin B deficiency. So an infusion of B vitamins feels like a pick-me-up with just a little extra added in for your delectation. Yeah. So it's I guess that that it's their first kind of overtly sort of drug song, if you like. But yeah. I agree with you. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a bit, but that kind of thing about it's a particular thing. It's about a particular person, particular thing, sort of autobiographical type story. Just tells a little vignette story of somebody and what they do. Is I love the sort of the harmony singing is great. I agree with you about it. It harks back to their when they first started off a bit more. It's quite a simple song. Just guitar chords, bass and drums. And I think a bit of organ in the middle somewhere, a bit of organ possibly. But 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip, and a very Lennon song.
Awesome. I'm glad Simon mentioned one theory about the song, because Lennon's last interview in 1980 with Playboy said that the song is about him. He always carried the pills on tour, and he always dispensed them. Then we have the theory offered by Simon about Dr. Joel Schumacher, and then also you've got Pete Shotton, a childhood friend, saying that the inspiration was Dr. Charles Roberts, the pseudonym for a physician based in New York, who used to administer, injections to the Manhattan elite. So, oh gosh, who cares? At the end of the day, it's a great song. Yeah, it's a great song. I'm glad that Brad mentioned the tones, because the tones on this song are amazing. And it's no surprise, actually, that the tone on this song sounds good, because the Beatles had recorded Paperback Writer in Rain and then went and recorded this. So whatever was in the studio when they were recording Paperback Writer mojoed into the guitar tone on this song. And because of that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Mojo.
It's good to hear all these different stories, and they sort of cross over a little bit, but like you said, Andrew, who cares? It's a great song, So.
We like talking about stories, don't we?
Exactly. But it's good to hear a few of them, and then we can make up our own mind, I guess. So
yeah.
So what are we up to? I want to tell you. Look, Harrison was known for being an overthinker, and this is a song basically Harrison wrote. He couldn't express in words what he had in his head. So he just wrote a song, and this is what I want to tell you. Head is full of things to say. He's basically telling you what is going on inside his head. I love how the guitar fades in at the start. Paul's harmonies supporting the high end perfectly. That's something that Paul McCartney was like a master at, in my opinion. He just always did the harmony right, the support vocal in the high end, amazing. Strange arrangement of the song. Moving forward from this album, we can hear where Harrison was heading in the future as well. I feel the song has some LSD-influenced lyrics, and the arrangement is definitely LSD that enhanced, because there's so much dissonance in those chords and where it hangs and it definitely reflects that. It's a strong song from Harrison, nevertheless, and I really love it. I've given it a 9 out of 10, and I'm interested to see what my co-host will say.
Well, yeah, it's is this the third Harrison song? I think it
Yep.
is. Yeah, so it's the third one. So I don't think he had more songs on that on any of the other albums, but so he's going. Again, I agree, Brad. Harrison said he wrote it, about the avalanche of thoughts that he found hard to express in words. And one of the theories I read was that that kind of the complexity of that, the breakthrough experience was what LSD afforded and other psychedelic drugs. I don't know if that's true, but I think it has that kind of feel about it. Sort of, you've tripped to another place, and a lot of things are going on in your head, kind of thing. So I think that's very part of the LSD experience. I'd say. Again, yeah. I mean, it kind of fades in, with the again. It's a kind of that 2.5 minute song, isn't it? It's got great melody, great singing, and it's clearly organised, and he plays the opening guitar parts as a repeat. And I noticed it had a kind of Indian type harmonies at the end, just on the fade out. It's got a kind of Indian type, on the fade out, it's Indian type harmonies. A 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Again, I think it's it's part of this album for me is about the contrast between what came before and what comes after. And it's fantastic. Great. When you hear them, when they come on and they're still so fresh and kind of full of ideas and full of spark and energy and stuff, you sit back and you go, God, that's such a great song. Look, here comes another one. 2.5 minutes later, God, that's such a great song. It's it's one of the things I find amazing. Andrew.
I think it's a brilliant song. It gets little love from a lot of critics. I love the song. It's as Simon said, it's the last of Harrison's contribution to the album as far as songwriting goes. I've just got another little quote here, guys, that I want to share with you because I wasn't aware of this, even though I can honestly say I haven't read the whole thing, but I do have volume 1 of Lewisham's Tune In, but it's 900 pages in it, and it's about the early years of the Beatles. So I'm not too interested in that. We're still waiting for volume 2 to come out, which starts, I think, around 63 and 63, goes on. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But what apparently Lewisham said that when McCartney and Lennon legalized their songwriting partnership, they considered including George. Now, I wasn't aware of that, and I don't know whether my co-hosts or the cats in the chat are aware of that. I'd never come across that at all. So if Lennon and McCartney had considered including Harrison, they must have realized, like a lot of us do now, that shit, this little scrawny little guitar player can write some bloody good songs. And anyway, this article that I've got here goes on to give some examples, but I won't read those out. We'll save them for another show. But most of us know, anyway, if we are Beatles nuts, where George contributed lyrics and music in other Beatles songs. I love the song. I'm going to give the song a 9 out of 10. I never skip it. It's a happy song. I want to tell you, again, the harmonies, I just love it. You've got the whole Beatles on the song. You've got the drums being played by Ringo, John playing the tambourine and harmony vocals, and the guitar and the bass, and possibly Paul playing the piano. Well, it is Paul playing the piano. And, Paul possibly playing another guitar. Don't know. Couldn't find any information on that, but it's never a skip. And I just want to add, I can't wait to do All Things Must Pass, because you know, we're going to be talking about some of the songs that Harrison wrote, didn't he, when he was a Beatle, and he was around two
Saved
great
up.
songwriters, wasn't he? You know, and he learnt a shitload.
Yeah, he definitely was like a sponge. He soaked up a lot of that creative energy, and he wrote some amazing tunes. Still to this day, that Abbey Road era for George Harrison, in my opinion, he was the songwriter for the Beatles, in my opinion, on that album especially. But I think when we did that record, I highlighted that his two songs are my favorite two Beatles songs. You know, it's unbelievable. But we're up to, but I'm glad we touched on the importance of Harrison there. Thanks, Andrew, to highlight that, because I was unaware of what you just said, that they were considering putting him as a songwriting credit.
I wanted to mention that because, look, I'm not a Beatles diehard nut, but I, know a little bit, but I've never come across that, and I missed that in Lewisham's. Got it here in Lewisham's book. So interesting. We can talk about that more. Yeah,
well, maybe when we do the Harrison special and All Things Must Pass, we can discuss it. But oh wow, that's a big book.
Yeah. I'll tell you how many pages, mate. It's
It is.
it's 1,000 pages, and I've skimmed through it. But it tells you what colour undies George wore in 1960. And it tells you that he liked to wear a vest, and that they tell you how much milk they put on cornflakes and whether or not he liked bacon crunchy or soft. The detail,
is astonishing.
Wow.
And apparently, what's it? The next volume, it might be due in 2023. That's the latest from Lewisham. It might be due in 2023.
I hope I'm still alive to read it, because that's the volume I want.
Well, clearly, and of course, then there's volume 3 after. The great horror you might have is that volume 2 only goes from 63 to 65, and you'll be sorry you thought of it.
Top marks to the guy. Top marks, because this book here, and as I say, I haven't read it page for page, but certainly volume 2, Simon and Brad, will be, because that's the beginning of Beatlemania and the mayhem and the geniusness.
Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast with the Word podcast with Bob Geldof, who described he went to see the Beatles. His sisters took him to see the Beatles when he was like 10 years old, and he described being in this theatre in Dublin, and he said the sound was unlike anything I have heard then or since. He said, I've seen all the screamer bands, all the modern screamer bands. He said there was nothing that compared to that feral, wild sound of girls screaming in a way that they never screamed for another band ever. So he said it was unbelievable. He said it was frightening, feral, wild, uncontrolled screaming. And he said I've never heard anything like it since. He said, I've seen all the screaming bands, One Direction, you name them. And he said, I have never heard anything like it. He said it was frightening. And he said, you've heard this before, he said the other thing he said was that he said the rivers of urine that flowed down the line or floor of the thing, as they just wet themselves over this thing. Absolutely astonishing. But yeah, that description of this kind of wild, feral sound of these girls screaming. Unbelievable. Anyway, sorry.
Wow.
Well, it's really difficult to you can see it, you can see on the on the films and stuff, where they've been drowned out. But I don't, his description of it is amazing. But you don't quite get the power just on those films of what they were and what and how they were perceived by the fans. in the way that no other band was then, and no other band has quite been since. You know.
There never will be, unfortunately.
No.
I don't think there ever will be.
Which is why I say that the Beatles are underrated. Still.
So what are we up to? We're up to the second last track, guys.
Got to get you into my life.
Got to get you into my life. It's McCartney. He was heavily influenced by Motown, and I believe he saw Stevie Wonder play at some nightclub or something. And
the Scotch of St James.
There you go. So yeah, and he was heavily influenced by that Stevie Wonder on this song, and the horns on the song. They used the close miking, which was what we spoke about in the first part of this deep dive on the album, which the brass, the horn, the musicians were like, you can't do that, but he goes, that's what I want. I want it up front. I want the brass up there. His vocal delivery on this song is amazing. He's belting his vocals out here. He's given it 110%. He's really going for it. It's a great song. I love Ringo's drumming in this one as well. There's some fantastic drumming in it. Look, I've always loved the song. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's one of those songs that is a great song, and then the next song comes in, and the way it comes in is just like it's the perfect way to segue into the next song, without a doubt. So 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skiff.
No, indeed. Yes, another great McCartney song, as far as I'm concerned. As you say, Brian, those horns up. Apparently, they were from Georgie Fame's group, the Blue Flames, was some of them. So, and that thing about that close miking thing that they did again makes them not right up front, really punchy, really in your face kind of thing. Apparently, McCartney's described this song as being an ode to pot, an ode to marijuana. Rather, but could quite easily be a love song, and so he said that, so it could be true. I love the horns. I think the horns, really come blasting. He's great singing as well. This is McCartney really giving it some, isn't he? I mean, got to get you in. He's really going for it as a vocal performance. I think it's a fantastic vocal performance. Great harmonies on it as well. And, as I say, great horns sing. I think it's a really upbeat song. It's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip from me. That's great. It's just a great upbeat R&B type song. Shouter. Really good.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I love the song too. I remember hearing this when I was a young dude going, wow, this can't be a Beatles song. This is like... this
Earth, Wind and Fire or something.
Yeah. It was a little bit like when I heard We Can Work It Out. I was thinking, is this the Beatles? Not like in a negative way. It was like in a curious kind of way. Because when you're first listening to the Beatles, when you're born around my era and you're growing up listening to the radio, Beatles were on the radio, still, in the 70s, so, can't, all the usual standard Beatles songs, that we all grew up listening to, was always in the back of my consciousness. And when you hear these kind of songs, it's like, that's a strange one. I love the horns, the way that they propel the horns. Got to get you into my life. Ba, 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 ba. And I have to agree with Simon. Paul McCartney said it himself. It's on the anthology DVDs. It's his ode to pot. So when they say it, we agree with them, except for when John Lennon says it, because John Lennon...
Well, always suggesting that John Lennon is slightly disingenuous.
Yeah,
polite, I'm British. I'm polite. Yeah, not a lying bastard. Yes.
Oh, look, we got to take Paul McCartney certainly.
Yeah.
You know, at his word, because he's, you know, there was no agenda there to tear down, you know, what he was. Yeah, and kind of strange song, isn't it? When you think of an ode to pot, got to get you into my life. It's like, it's not, you know, I'm expecting a Grateful Dead song, you know, or Bob Marley. Could you kind of song, you know? not this,
Yeah.
you know, these beautiful horns. I love the song. I'm going to give the song a 10 out of 10. And I love doing this, guys. I love doing this. I like making connections between a great song and another song. It's like, you know, Van Halen. I've used this a lot, you know, Eruption and I've forgotten.
Oh God, I don't know Spanish.
No. Eruption and on the Van Halen 1, and it's the Kinks version.
You really got me.
Yeah. Sorry, cheapers. Yeah, you know. So always when I hear this song, I know what's going to happen because I never heard tomorrow the next song anyway. I don't know what.
Spoiler alert. Butler did it.
I never heard the next song by itself. It was always in context with this album, so you get excited. Yeah, I do, because I know what's happening next.
Same.
So yeah, but yeah, clever song. Another great Paul McCartney song. He loves the horns, doesn't he? He just can't you know, it's in his blood when you consider what his old man played in bands, orchestra bands as well too, didn't he? You know, he was a jazz musician, so no surprise. Love the song. Never a skip. Brad.
Well, you know, that segues into the way you said that. Maybe you should have segued into the next song straight from there, Andrew, you know, because you
desperately want to.
Well, I agree. You got to hear, you know, that song from Paul, Got to Get You Into My Life, and it segues straight into Tomorrow Never Knows. It's Tomorrow Never Knows, honestly, this is the highlight of the album for me. From the drone at the start, it's like a journey onwards. It includes reverse guitars, the processed vocals, you know, that amazing syncopated type repetitive drumming from Ringo. There's the loop tape effects that they all created themselves. And they had all tape machines running. Man, this was innovation at its best. For this time frame, no one was doing anything like this. There's a hypnotic feel on the drums. You know, it's like boom boom da boom 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 da boom boom. It's not straight drumming. This is where Ringo shines on this record for me. He makes this song in a way. You know what I mean? He gives it that dynamic. It's basically a C droning chord all the way through. That's Harrison playing the tambura to get that C drone all the way through it. So for anyone that's musical, you know, if you pick up an acoustic guitar and you strum a C chord, that's the whole song is that. It's all the way through one chord. It's C all the way through. So you've got like the foundation is the tambura, the bass and drums. You've got 5 tape loops that they all made them, like each member of the Beatles come up with their own loop for it and manipulated sounds for it. 2 separate sitar passages played backwards and sped up. An orchestra playing in a B flat chord, and I think they sped that up to make it C. Lennon's laughter, they sped it up to resemble that seagull cry. And they also did that with a mellotron. So the mellotron was either like the brass setting or a string setting to get that sound, or flute setting. The Leslie speaker treatment that they put through Lennon's vocal, shouts out to like George Martin, because that was his suggestion, because he wanted to hear John Lennon singing like it was the Dalai Lama singing from the top of a mountain. That's the vocal effect he wanted. He wanted it to be like that. Lennon has been cited as adapting the lyrics from Timothy Leary's book, The Psychedelic Experience, a manual based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which equates the realization brought through LSD with spirituality in an enlightened state achieved through meditation. For me, this has to be one of the most innovative studio recordings of that era. It's definitely up there, if not one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. And I had to give this like 100 out of 10. It's, for me, this is the highlight of the record for me. And, I've been listening to this album for 2 weeks now, and still to this day, I listen to this song 2 or 3 times to every other song on the record. Simon.
Yes. Yeah, well, it is, isn't
awesome,
it?
bro. Thank you.
It is the most astonishing record. I mean, unlike anything that came before it, not delve quite deeply into the. Never heard anything like it before that, and I'd claim that with the tape loops and the drums, this is the advent of trip hop, hip hop, one of the lines of those musical genres comes back to this, absolutely, and you could say no more about a 3-minute song that it has, a whole genre of music is one of the lines of that can be traced back to this. But some of it, I completely agree with you, Brad. All the stuff you said about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the LSD experience, clearly it's all going to. I think that we should say that the tape loops were really primarily McCartney, interestingly, who is, and I've said it on here before, Andrew and I certainly, who he's not regarded as the avant-garde one, but actually he is the avant-garde one because he was, the tape loops came from his admiration of a man called Karl Stockhausen. And he had a piece of music called Gesang der Jungling. Apologies for my German accent, but so he'd already been doing it. So in the avant-garde world, this kind of tape loops thing, had been going on for a while. His brilliance was to take those tape loops and put it in a pop song. And put that kind of, and make it so that it worked, and it is an astonishing kind of dreamlike, trippy track of which, as I say, there's no antecedents to it, and there's no, the things that it influenced and inspired are just amazing. Very, I'd say very modern drumming by Ringo. I don't know if it's a drum loop. It might be a drum loop, but I think it's an astonishing piece of music. That's amazing. It's 100 out of 10. And is one of the cornerstones of the Beatles canon in terms of a song, its influence, and what they did. It's just incredible, really. I can't sort of overestimate how, and for 1966, for somebody to come up like this, this is as far ahead of, with that avant-garde edge to it as anybody's ever done.
Yep.
Andrew, what? Sorry, Brad, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think there's on the anthology series that came out, the CDs that came out, I think there is a version that one of the earlier takes of it, and Ringo's playing his drums. So it's actually Ringo playing. It's not drum loops from Ringo. It is actually recorded that way. They just did it obviously with the loops and everything as well. So it's quite a cool version to listen to as well. Gives you an idea of where they were at. So that was, I think it might have been an earlier recording on the same day, maybe one of the earlier takes, but. Yeah, that's really good. If you haven't gone and had a listen to that, definitely go and have a listen, Andrew.
Yeah, books are important, aren't they? And that's one of the reasons why we read them. And this song is because of basically a book. I've got a quote here. Try to keep the memory of a trusted friend or a respected person whose name you can serve as a guide and protection. Trust your divinity, trust your brain, trust your companions. Whenever in doubt, turn off your mind, relax, float downstream. So that's the quote direct from the psychedelic experience from Timothy Leary. So Revolver's trump card, clearly, guys, and naturally enough, it's the last song on the album.
Yes.
And the album's astonishingly great, isn't it, already? It opens with the brilliant Taxman. It's followed up with Eleanor Rigby and Love You Do, Got to Get You Into My Life, and then you've got, this song. It's remarkable. I'm not going to add any of the technical stuff other than it's the first song that they recorded or worked on the album, which is interesting because for a long, long time, you kind of get these albums and you put them into sequence and you naturally assume, well, this is the last song that they would have worked on because it's the culmination of this great album. But, obviously it's not. I'm glad Simon mentioned Paul because that's critical. That's crucial because a lot of established Beatles journalists don't mention that. And anybody that or any show that wants to talk about the song needs to include that Paul McCartney was the instigator of bringing that Stockhausen, Berio and Cage influence. And Paul exposed it to the band and John Lennon was just flipped by it. So in Beatles books, he just used to sit there consuming LSD and just recording and playing stuff on his machine. Loved it, loved the sound, just loved it, and went to the studio. And I suppose this is where the myths get twisted. He said, we got to have this. And a lot of people say, well, John was the reason why they had the loops. No. It was introduced certainly as Simon said, by Paul. Look, it's a masterpiece, isn't it? It's a great song. I've spoken to people over the years who have consumed LSD when they've listened to this album and this song. I never have. I've listened to this song drunk, giddy with love, and sad and lonely. But I've always been intrigued about people that I know or people that I may have worked with. What's it like, because I'm scared. I'm a scaredy cat, what's it like, listening to the song when you're, I still haven't had a decent answer from anybody. So, I don't know.
You'll have to do it on your 80th birthday or something. Maybe. You might be right, Simon. When it's too late to matter.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, Andrew,
no one's going to drug test you at work or anything.
If you're going to do it, Andrew, do it on the show for us so we can watch you. And then we'll get you on the show, and then we'll get you to recite the words, to the song.
Yeah. I'm happy.
Yeah, you could do the Tibetan Book of the Day.
Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream.
Bro, my motto is hugs, not drugs. That's my motto, bro. So, but I've always been seriously. I've always been curious about it because, when you start reading about the Beatles, you can't escape, those connections, can you? It's everywhere. In the books by the Beatles themselves. It's just chalk and night and no.
Yes, cheese and chalk. Yes.
It's gravy with your sausages or something. Yeah. I don't know, but
I never expected to hear that analogy ever. It's like gravy with your sausages. Can we have a quote? There's another T-shirt. You see, LSD. It's like gravy with your sausages.
With your sausages, yeah. But seriously, guys, I've always been intrigued by it because when you go and hear of other artists and read other artists' books, they talk about it. They talk about how this was pivotal to them too. And I'm just going to offer one last thing. Through all this LSD experience that the Beatles had, and certainly John Lennon came out and said that he was a better person because of it. It got rid of that abrasiveness and that harshness that he had. It quietened him down. It slowed him down a bit. It gave him an ability to sort of, relax and see things in focus. So, look, I love the song. I love all the stories around this album, around the songs. And I'm sure, as we do more and more Beatles albums, we're going to be talking about, what influenced the band and, that generation. Got to remember, it was legal too, wasn't it? It was legal back then in 66.
Yeah. Yes, it was just about. Yeah, I think it was late 66. They certainly in America, late 66. I think they made it illegal.
Amazing.
We're gonna have something called Waltonisms. That's what we're gonna have. We're gonna have Waltonisms on this show, and that's one of them. LSD. Like gravy with your sausages. Oh man, it's just the
Beatles.
Brilliant.
The Beatles and LSD is like gravy with your sausages.
Yeah. Oh dear, that's just truly wonderful. It's just wonderful. I just one other further comment. I've just made a note of that. That the title is a Ringo Starr malapropism. Like Hard Day's Night came after somebody asked him about some incident at the British Embassy in Washington where somebody cut off some of his hair, and he said about it, "Tomorrow never knows," for some reason. So, and Lennon liked it because it kind of took the edge off the sort of heaviness of the lyrics and of the content, just to have a sort of wacky title. But I think this is one of the Beatles' masterpieces. Absolutely,
Yeah,
completely.
Couldn't agree.
Guaranteed.
And again,
guaranteed.
Could I just say once more? How long is it? 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a 3 minute song, ladies and gentlemen. Not a. Yeah. But in a sense, it adheres to the classic phrase, doesn't it? Leave them wanting more. You're right. It could easily be 5 minutes or whatever. But
if it was a Led Zeppelin song, if it was a Led Zeppelin song, it'd probably be 8 minutes.
Clearly. But that's the interesting part. You move past 66 is still the sort of pop era. You've got to get to 67 where you start getting the rock era, I would say. Whereas where you get longer tracks, people are improvising more. Cream are just about to start. With their longer improvisational things, that's going to come more into the mainstream, more into the fore. And you've got all the late 60s bands like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that who are extending out their songs. And whereas this is from a pop band, so it's 3 minutes. It has a pop sensibility to it. Whatever else it has, alongside the avant-garde sensibility. Yeah, which makes it fascinating. And I would say that this is the yes, as Analog Kid says, name another band that writes an epic song like that. It only goes on for 3 minutes, completely. Now somebody's ringing. Hold on a sec. I'll just answer that, guys. Hold on a sec.
Well, there you go, Simon. He's got a phone call from Dr. Robert.
Mate, I've loved doing this album. Obviously, there's a lot more too that we could have, spoken about, especially in relationship to this song. But we can obviously come back and revisit it. I think, Brad, you've done a wonderful job introducing the songs and talking about them. It's never easy. No. Simon and I, when we follow the person, the co-host introducing the album, always has the easier job, because a lot of the source and the nitty gritty is, expected in the first introduction. So you did a wonderful job, a fantastic job. It never ceases to amaze me. I know I said this on the another show that we did earlier. My co-hosts amaze me, and I think to be sitting here with you guys for a couple of hours and sharing the love for music and being inspired not only by what I know but what I'm reading, by what Simon's saying and what Brad's saying, it's just amazing.
No, thank you. I feel the same though. Like I'm giving you my insight and I'm giving you my my critique on it, and then I'm hearing Simon's, I'm hearing yours, and you all have something unique and different that I was unaware of with nearly every song. So, it just goes to show where you think you know so much about the band you love, and you can always learn something new. And that's why it's great doing these deep dives. We've all got something to offer, I think.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mark and Ellen. You guys also in the chat, we can't forget you guys too, because you guys in the chat give us the confidence and the support to go out and do these shows weekly, to be told, that that you guys understand what it means, that we are delivering something from an organic fan's perspective and it resonates with you guys. That's mind-blowing. That's humbling, because it's true. We're just, Simon, Brad and I, we're just fans. We're just the same as you guys, we're just talking about stuff that we love. So it's always a pleasure and a humbling experience. So we just love taking you guys for a journey. And when I turn 80, who knows, Simon? Who knows?
It's an aspiration. There you are. Just put it on your wish list.
When you're 80, you can do what you like, mate. Why not?
That's it. Yeah.
You still got like 50 years to go, mate, before you're 80.
Oh, good boy.
Somebody, one of the guys in the chat said, when Andrew turns 50, he could do it then.
Oh, another good boy. Oh.
I can't remember who it was. Who was it?
Oh my gosh. Now I'm getting
Analog Kid said that on Andrew's 50th birthday he should trip on LSD to the Beatles Revolver. So when you're 50, Mr. Wilson, you can do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's a few years away. Seriously, guys. I'm going to pass it over to my co-host. It's my pick for the album next week, and as usual, I'm not going to spoil it like I did last week. You guys have to subscribe to the Instagram accounts to find out what it is. So I'll post it, and I'm sure my co-hosts will repost the album. That's the only way that you guys are going to find out what we're doing. We've got a 5150 show Saturday, New Zealand, Australia time. So tune into that, and we'll repost links to that show. That one's going to be interesting.
What's that on? It's on.
Okay, thank you, Simon. So we are deep diving this DVD here, which came out in '86. It's Van Halen's Live Without a Net. So we've got a couple of special guests coming on that show. So we look forward to that, hearing what they have to say. But I'm going to pass it on to Brad and then Simon to wrap up and just, say what they want to say. Simon and Brad.
Simon, go for it.
Okay. Well, one of the things that strikes me is just imagine if it was called After Geography. Well, Mr. Ringo Starr's terrible puns on aftermath, which is but I think Revolver is the first great Beatles masterpiece. I think every track is an amazing exploration of their new way of working. It's an exploration of the new sounds, the new things that they were able to do. They bring peak creativity and to that process. George Martin, I think, is and Jeff Emerick clearly open to these things. And there's they're all done on 4-track machines and stuff, which is I always emphasize the the technology gap makes you more creative. Your constraints make you more creative, not less. And if you're the Beatles, that's definitely true. I think it's one of the greatest albums ever. I think there is no doubt its influence is huge. I think it's they're at a creative apex, which they carry on to the rest of the 70s, 60s, 70s, 60s. It's if you've never heard of it, get hold of it. Immerse yourself in it. It is an astonishing record. It's an astonishing record now. Never mind in 1966. And I will retell the story. I have told it on here before. The story of the great Chas Hodges, who was in Cliff Bennett, the Revelrisers, being in a dressing room with Paul McCartney. And Paul McCartney plays him Revolver, and he says they get to Yellow Submarine, and Paul McCartney's going, well, "What do you think?" And he's sitting there going, "I don't know what to think. It's the Beatles, isn't it? With playing Yellow about a song about a submarine. I have no idea what to think." And I think that's probably absolutely the reaction that for many people for that album. But I think it's a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece. One of the pinnacles of British rock music. I'm going to use the word rock music in this context. So yeah, and 100 out of 10, one of the greatest albums ever made.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Simon. Fantastic record, and thanks for letting me have the choice to pick that one. That was a pleasure to go through that. I learned a bunch from you guys, like I always do. You guys are a wealth of information. It's great to share the songs, the rankings, our experiences with them, and thank you so much for allowing me to indulge in one of my favorite Beatles records. It's such a great record. And also,
brilliant choice.
Andrew's a very humble guy, and he keeps promoting all of our social medias, but you've got to go on, and this hasn't even got a tag for it. So go across Brit Electric Blues Show. Go across there. Get those followers up, and you will get. He will share the album there somewhere. For the next
you guys will find me on somewhere on Brad's and Simon's.
Yep.
So let's let's get Simon cooking on there too.
I've got a link directly to Andrew's from mine, but just go there, and Andrew will
thank you, bro.
The record, and I'll share that as well in my stories, and everyone will know about it. But thanks guys for the great little. Great fun.
Epic choice.
Yeah. So someone asked in the chat before we went, when are we doing All Things Must Pass? We're going to do that soon as that album drops, because one of the key things, guys, that we have to do as a channel is the algorithms with YouTube works really, really well for the channel and for the views. And hopefully we need the subs. We've got no problem with the views as far as moving forward with the channel. We got all the views. But the algorithms, when that album drops and we do some tags and stuff like that, will start coming up in some feeds. And, people might see Simon, Brad and I and go, wow, and the Rev go, wow, we'll check these guys out. So, if you guys can like, share and subscribe the channel, we'd always be humbly grateful for any support that you can give us. I'm out of here.
Just so you know, the 50th anniversary of All Things Must Pass is out on the 6th of August.
What day is that?
What? What day is it? You see? What choice? Hold on a second. See, now I've got to go off and look in my calendar and stuff. You've no idea of the difficulties, Dr. Walton.
See what we go through.
The 6th is a Friday.
See what Andrew puts us all through, you know?
So the 6th is a Friday.
It's a Friday, so we could do it on the 8th.
We're doing okay. So we'll start doing part 1 on the 8th then.
Yep. So get ready, guys.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Thank you, Analog Kid.
Yeah. That's going to be a monster, isn't it? Wow.
Yep.
Oh.
I'm going to nominate Andrew to run that one, but we'll all contribute. I think we're all going to have to contribute because it's going to be a big task.
Yeah. And look, we'll talk about that off here. But yeah, I don't mind doing an introduction to the album at all. Yeah, that's no problem at all. I'm keen to do that. We can link that in. That's fantastic. And I'll take my dog for a walk, guys. And I've got a couple of thoughts that I'm going to do for the album. But yeah, subscribe on Instagram, and then you can find out what the album is next week. And one last thing. Go England. I'm a football fan. I've been an England supporter for 30 odd years. They're playing Italy in the final. And Gareth Southgate, Harry Kane, come on, England.
Yeah. We'll be watching it live and sweating heavily.
Hey, I just remembered Happy Birthday, Planet of Love, my song. First 1 year.
Yes, first anniversary.
Oh!
Yes, indeed.
1 year.
Yeah. Okay, so what you can do then at the start of next week, we'll give you 5 minutes, bro. You can talk about your album. It's a good opportunity because it's an important part of our show. So talk about your album.
Yeah.
We'll make some links to it, guys. The 1 year anniversary. So we've got to, and I need you too. I'm going to tell you off in front of people because you haven't done it for me. I need a video for the t-shirt draw.
Okay.
I know you've been busy, but mate, come on. This is the British Electric Blues Show, bro.
What do we need? Oh, look, I forgot. What do I need to do? Make a video of me saying,
"It's me."
His Brad Cook t-shirt because we're giving that away. So if you want to do one too, Simon, you're more than welcome. We need a video of
that.
Because that's the draw, the channel giveaway next month to try and get some subs up. But yeah, and I'm going to growl you too because you need to do me the Rock Professor. You need to do me a louder one because we can't hear yours. You're when we play. Yeah,
I know.
Hold on,
guys. When you play Brad's is very quiet as well. I noticed today. I will do another one. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know why, but they are.
Okay, maybe I can crank them up.
Is there a way? Yeah.
Might have to put some gravy on those sausages.
Oh dear.
All right.
Oh, dear.
Okay. All right. So who's saying goodbye?
I'm saying goodbye. Yeah. So thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Take care. Ellen Morrisine, Mark Tanner. Thanks, guys. Nightbot, Analog Kid. Thanks, Analog Kid. Lots of good stuff from you. Sonia, of course, the Dogpa, and Pride of Gothenburg as well. Thank you, guys. That's really good. Who else did we have? Johnny Bean came in earlier, and who else did we have at the beginning? I don't know if I can go back. I can't go back to the beginning. Was Arvin around? Thanks, Arvin. If you were, and we should shout out to Warren. Hope you're okay, Warren. Thinking of you, man. So I think that's everybody that I've got. It's a bit in and out. So thanks ever so much, guys. Take care. Have a good week. And we'll see you next week for another classic album. Crappy Luxury. Crappy Luxury, of course. And Deja Voodoo as well. Thank you, guys. Take care. And, Texas Chat Door as well. You came as well.
Awesome. Warren.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Love you, bro.
Warren.
Love you, bro.
Yeah. Bye.